Let's talk about something so many of us do, often without even realizing it has a name. It's called self-silencing. You know, that thing where you kind of hide what you're really feeling just to keep things smooth, to keep the peace. I mean, really think about it for a second. Have you ever been in a situation where you just bit your tongue, swallowed what you really wanted to say, and just smiled and nodded when on the inside you were screaming? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. And we're going to get into exactly why our brains do that. So here's what's so fascinating. This isn't just some random accident. It's actually a strategy. It might be subconscious, but it's a very real strategy our minds use to try and manage our relationships. And here it is, the core idea. Self-silencing is about intentionally losing your voice. But look at the reason why. It's a strategy to stay connected. See, we're not doing it to be difficult or dishonest. We're actually doing it because we value the connection so much, and we're trying to protect it. Okay, so before you start beating yourself up about this, thinking it's some kind of character flaw, let's pull back the curtain and see what's happening inside your brain. Because this isn't about you being weak. It's about your brain doing what it's designed to do, protect you. It's a pattern, not a flaw. Right, so that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth does this protective pattern get wired into us in the first place? Well, it turns out it's a pretty simple but really powerful learning process. It all starts with experience. At some point, maybe in your current relationship, maybe one from long ago, you decided to be honest. You shared your truth. And what happened? It was met with a fight or some harsh criticism, or maybe the other person just shut down, they pulled away. And your brain, which is always trying to keep you safe, does a quick calculation. It learns that being truthful isn't a gateway to intimacy, it's actually expensive. It costs you peace. It costs you connection. Honesty starts to feel very, very pricey. So once your brain makes that link, the logic is kind of undeniable, right? If speaking the truth is risky and expensive, well, then silence must be the safer option. It becomes a form of self-preservation. Your brain starts defaulting to silence because it feels like the best way to protect you. But here's the catch. That peace you're buying with your silence, it's not free. There's a steep hidden cost. And over time, it can actually start to poison the very relationship you were trying so hard to protect. And this just lays it out so clearly. On the surface, everything looks great. No fights, no tension, it's all calm. But what's going on inside you is a totally different story. That resentment, that fear, it just builds and builds with nowhere to go. It's like a pressure cooker. And this is maybe the biggest cost of all. When you stop sharing who you really are, genuine intimacy just, well, it becomes impossible. You're no longer connecting with someone, you're performing for them. You're playing a role that you think will keep them happy. Let's just break that down a bit. First off, your partner isn't even in a relationship with the real you. They're in a relationship with this carefully managed version of you. They never get the chance to actually know you. And meanwhile, inside, you're building up what our source calls an explosive backlog of all these unsaid things. And you know what happens with backlogs like that? Sooner or later, they tend to blow up. Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty intense, but here is the really good news. Because this is a learned pattern, that means it can be unlearned. You can actually retrain that loop in your brain and start finding your voice again. So let's talk about how to do that. First things first, the goal here isn't to stop having feelings or become some kind of robot. No way. The goal is to consciously start feeding your brain new, better data. Data that shows, hey, maybe being honest doesn't always have to end in disaster. So here are 3 super practical steps. First, just start to notice. Notice that moment when you go from simply managing an emotion to completely erasing yourself. Second, start small. You don't have to confess your deepest secrets. Share low-stakes truths first. Seriously, start with what you actually want for dinner. It builds momentum. And third, and this one is huge, you've got to reframe your idea of safety. This is such a powerful shift in thinking. A truly safe relationship is not one where there's never any tension. That's a myth. A truly safe relationship is one where you can be honest, navigate the difficult conversation that might follow, and come out on the other side still feeling connected. It's about whether your honesty can survive. And if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. This self-silencing pattern doesn't mean you're irrational or broken. It is a logical, learned loop in your brain. And the second you see it that way, as something that is trainable, you take all your power back. So I'll just leave you with this question. What's one small, tiny, low stakes truth you can practice sharing today? It doesn't have to be a big deal because every single time you do it, you're giving your brain better data. And that's how you start to break the cycle, one honest moment at a time.